Alrighty guys, it is Qaaman here today and I have some awesome news for you guys. So all of the desktop parts have come in and I'm actually working on it right now. Just took a little detour to record this video for you guys and to stay active for all the future content that will be coming. And in today's video, we're going to have a conversation about something I discussed on Discord recently about Vegeta and Piccolo. And between these two characters, especially with Vegeta in the manga right now, which character do you feel has had more character development over the years? And at a first glance, you might think that this is a pretty one-sided answer. The obvious answer is Vegeta, and I could understand why. Because when you look throughout the series, Vegeta is obviously become the second most important character in the show, much more than Gohan, much more than Piccolo, much more than Ten Shenhan, much more than Krillin, and all of these characters that were, at least at the time, supposed to be Goku's second. Vegeta has taken on that role and he's maintained that role for X number of years. So it makes natural sense with the progression of the show that Vegeta, as a Saiyan counterpart to Goku, would get a lot of the story elements to boost him as a character. But when you actually think about who's actually had more character development, you could seriously make a case for Piccolo, and in today's video we're going to go into why. So when you actually compare the transition of a character that Piccolo has had as compared to Vegeta, it's nothing short of incredible. And the primary reason is because when you look at Piccolo's character, he was directly created to be a character that was designed to kill Goku. And he retains all of the dark memories of King Piccolo himself. Now, why is this all important? Well, essentially, when you think about it like that, Piccolo is literally going against his life mission. And he is literally going against his entire purpose as basically a King Piccolo reincarnation to fight alongside Goku and Gohan and all of the other characters. And when you think about that, that is very different to Vegeta, who was a character that came into the series and in many ways was, like Piccolo, trying to kill the main characters of a show, but due to circumstance similar to Piccolo, he kind of changed because it's like, hey, Frieza is a bigger threat, so I'll team up with you guys. Very similar to Raditz being the bigger threat and Piccolo having to team up with Goku and his friends. Now here's where we get into the difference. The difference is the character of Gohan. And the reason why Piccolo has a lot of character development that's not really discussed as much is because I don't think Dragon Ball fans truly understand how powerful it is for somebody created to kill Goku and somebody who actually literally killed Goku to train his son. Now, obviously, Piccolo didn't train Gohan because he wanted to be this father figure to him and he really cared about him. He trained Gohan because he saw him as an asset to help fight against the Saiyans in the future. But when you actually think about it and you compare the actual direct characters, put Vegeta in the same situation as Piccolo. Do you actually think that Vegeta would train somebody who he basically does not know at all, and somebody who is the child of somebody that he hates in order to fight against another threat? No. In the same exact situation, Vegeta would have just trained himself with the anticipation that he would have been enough to actually fight against the future threats. And this is where we're kind of drawing the line between the actual personalities of Vegeta and the personalities of Piccolo. Piccolo, even though he's very powerful, he can see the forest from the trees. He can obviously understand, hey, I'm pretty strong, but I stand no chance against these upcoming Saiyans, and I'm not going to risk the entire fate of my own life just to guess that I can get strong enough to fight them on my own. So Piccolo took a more intuitive approach to the situation as opposed to a character like Vegeta who would just train himself. And we saw hints of this when we look at the anime adaptation of Dragon Ball. Now, of course, when you look at Dragon Ball, you have the anime and you have the manga. And in the manga, we never actually got a chance to see Vegeta and Trunks actually training, even though it was somewhat implied that they actually trained with each other. But the anime, on the other hand, go as far as to say that Vegeta and Trunks basically never trained with each other, that they basically just shared a room, and Trunks was doing his own thing, Vegeta was doing his own thing, they observed each other every now and then, but in reality, they never actually trained with each other. Now, I want you to think about that, and I want you to think about how different that is as characters and how much more Vegeta could have grown had he actually trained with Trunks. And I say all of this to kind of highlight the differences between Vegeta and Piccolo before we finally get to our conclusion. And ultimately, despite all of what Piccolo has done, when you actually think about Vegeta, specifically the present timeline version of Vegeta, it's a cliche answer, but despite everything I said, I'm gonna have to give him the edge of having more character development. And the main reason is really the development that he had with his family. You see, and it's kind of unfair because Piccolo actually looks like an alien and Vegeta kind of looks like a normal human, so he can attract women kind of like Bulma, have a family, have a normal life, whereas Piccolo can't really do those things. So in reality, he's kind of restricted based off of his, I guess, Namekian genealogy to not be able to quote-unquote develop with characters the same way that Vegeta can. So yes, the answer is Vegeta has had more character development, but it's more so by circumstance and popularity as opposed to Piccolo couldn't do the things that Vegeta did to develop as a character. One of the things is that when we go back to the Buu Saga, one thing that really separates Piccolo from Vegeta is the relationship that Vegeta had with his son in present Trunks. Unlike the future timeline Vegeta, Vegeta actually was a father to present Trunks. He trained with him, he did all those things. And one of the primary reasons why these things happened is because Goku died, and Vegeta was like, well, screw it, Goku's dead, I might as well just raise a family on my own. And he became a quote-unquote good father kind of by circumstance because the thing that always drove him was dead, and he quote-unquote softened up. As opposed to Piccolo, who's always been a very introverted character, and he didn't really quote-unquote bond with Gohan for one major reason. Gohan's not his son, and the relationship that Piccolo has with Gohan is more akin to a mentor and a mentee as opposed to a father and a son. Despite everything that Piccolo did, because he's not an actual father, he can't do those things. Now, here's something interesting, however, and Geekdom and I have actually talked about this. What if Piccolo pulled a King Piccolo and coughed up a son and actually raised him as a Namekian? Well, then in that situation, we would have a totally different circumstance because Piccolo was never intended to be Gohan's father. He was just intended to be a mentor to him when Goku was dead, and he taught him how to fight. So when we try to compare Vegeta to Piccolo, it's one of those things where it's like, yes, Vegeta has had more character development than Piccolo, but it was because Piccolo doesn't look like a human like Vegeta does. It's because Piccolo had a different relationship to the closest thing he ever had to a son, and it's also because of popularity and the circumstances that the show pushed in Vegeta's favor. So yes, Vegeta has had more character development, but the show naturally just restricted Piccolo from ever doing that. However, I do think that we should respect Piccolo, because if we go back to Dragon Ball Battle of Gods, right, and even if we go to Resurrection of F, we can even look at a variety of different things and different arcs and see how Piccolo has softened up as a character, babysitting Pan and doing so many human things for people. But when Piccolo walks in public, people think that something's wrong with him, akin to the Buu Saga, where you can see everybody freaking out because obviously he looks like an alien. And I hate to be stereotypical and use the whole, well, Piccolo is like the black guy of Dragon Ball stereotype, so he kind of fits a stereotype of, oh, whoa, what is this thing coming near me? But it actually does apply because he can't assimilate into society the same way Vegeta could, because Vegeta is basically a human with a funny haircut and a removed tail. He doesn't look any different from a human, so that innately allows him to create bonds naturally based off of the physiology of Saiyans being able to breed with humans in the first place, and also how he looks. And in reality, I think both characters have had a massive amount of character development throughout the show. Both of them have come a long way. And I'd have to say that Vegeta has done a lot of things, especially in terms of trying to help normal people, and the relationships and bonds that he's built, especially being there for Bra, when in fact in Dragon Ball Z he didn't seem to be as much of a family man as compared to what he is now. Vegeta has come a long way, man, and I just gotta tip my hat off to him and say that he is the most developed character in Dragon Ball history. But Piccolo definitely deserves a runner-up award in all of this. And shout out to all of the other rivals of Goku in the past that, you know, just got washed away, like Tien and Krillin and everybody else that kind of just got forgotten because Vegeta was the biggest one and Piccolo was like the second for his very, very, very short term in life. So I hope you guys appreciate the video. I'm going to be working on this new desktop, and stick around because we're going to have a lot more conversations in the future and more highly edited content is coming on the way.